Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Real Crazy News Raiders. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about NFL wide receivers that the Raiders can draft in the NFL draft. I have a tier list set up, ready to go, and I'm going to be ranking them on an order of where I think the Raiders should take them and how they fit in this Raiders offense. Wide receiver, Tedero McMillan. So, McMillan, also known as T-Mac, is, in my opinion, one of the best receivers in this class, if not the best. McMillan, he's 6'5", and he's just a beast. He's like 210 pounds, and he can make any deep ball count as like a 80% catch, 20% drop rate, just because of how big he is and how aggressive he is. He will bring this Raiders team a true X receiver, and he will open up this Raiders offense immediately. So Tedero McMillan, he's all the way on the right there. We're gonna put him into S tier. That's how good I think he is. Just to let you know, S tier is the elite. Then we're gonna go to A tier, which is like good, but like a second round pick. Then we're gonna go to B tier, and that's like average, and they're sleepers. So Tedero McMillan, for a while, I really thought that he was the best wide receiver in this class, and I still think that he fits this Raiders offense the best. But I have to admit, lately, this next guy that we're gonna talk about has me thinking like, wow, this guy is the best player in the draft, best wide receiver in the draft. So the next guy's Matthew Golden. Golden's honestly one of my favorite players in this draft. Golden is projected on the top 15 picks, so if the Raiders wanted to take him, they would either have to trade down or they would have to take him at number 6. Matthew Golden, he's 5'11". He ran the fastest 40-yard dash in the combine for a wide receiver, and he's really going to help this Raiders offense out. Here's the only problem. The Raiders already have a true field stretcher in Trey Tucker. The only thing is, what if the Raiders don't have a lot of confidence in Trey Tucker? I have a solid amount of confidence in him, but you have to admit, he hasn't shown that much over the years, shown that he can be that true receiver. I don't know if he's going to be, turn into one of the best players, but I really hope that the Raiders figure out a way to get Trey Tucker the ball more, because I think he can be a great player. Matthew Golden, he's a deep threat, but he's also got amazing hands. Some people see him as the best wide receiver in the draft. And if it wasn't for how big McMillan was, I would say Matthew Golden's the best wide receiver in this class. He's got elite routes. He's fast. He's got everything you want in a wide receiver. So next guy we're going to talk about. Oh, by the way, Matthew Golden. We're going to put him in the tier S tier. Then next up we have wide receiver slash cornerback from Colorado, Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, he's a generational talent, and he won the Heisman. Not a lot of players have come out of college and won the Heisman that have played cornerback and wide receiver. No one's really done it at all and competed at a high level. So if he does play wide receiver and cornerback in the league, it'll be something special, and he does ever. As of him as a wide receiver, because that's what we're judging on, I'm still going to put him in S tier. Travis Hunter, he's one of the best wide receivers in this class. He's fast, he's got good routes, and I really think that he can still compete at a high level and still be a great player in this Raiders offense. He's projected to go in the top 5 picks, and if I had to guess, he's going to go top 3. So if the Raiders didn't want him, they would likely have to trade up. Trading up for Travis Hunter isn't my favorite idea, because Travis Hunter, he says he's going to play wide receiver and cornerback. He might. But also, what if he gets hurt? What about all these problems? So to trade up to number 3 with the Giants, you're going to have to give up a lot. Later in the show, we might call up a Giants fan and see how much it does cost to get the number 3 overall pick. But, like I said, Travis Hunter, he's a good wide receiver, but I'd rather take a guy like Matthew Golden or Tedero McMillan. So that's going to be it for S tier. And next up, we got tier 2, which is A tier. So tier 2, they're like solid starters, and they're going to be guys that can develop into better players. So next up, we have Luther Burden III. Burden can play all over the field for the Raiders, and he can make an impact in year 1. He's one of the best wide receivers in college football this year from Missouri, and he could fit this Raiders offense. The only thing is Burden is projecting on the first round, but he's not projected to go at number 6. The Raiders would most likely trade down to get him, or if they wanted, they could just take him at number 6, which is very unlikely. But the more realistic option is for them to just trade up, trade back into the first round, give up maybe a second, a third, and maybe like a next year's third to get a first round pick and take Luther Burden. I like Luther Burden. He's got nice speed, he's got nice hands, but I still think that Travis Hunter, McMillan, and Matthew Golden are the better receivers. So we're going to put that guy into here. He's from Missouri. All right. So next up, we got Emeka Egbuka. So Ibuka is another wide receiver that I really like in this draft class. In my opinion, he has the second best fit in this Raiders offense. Ibuka already has ties to this Raiders offense due to Chip Kelly, who's the Raiders offensive coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, where Emeka Ibuka played. So having a guy that knows Chip Kelly's system is really going to help out. So Ibuka, he's a nice receiver. He runs a 4.3 40-yard dash, and he automatically fits in this offense. Getting a guy who already knows Chip Kelly is huge, and that could be a major reason why the Raiders could take him. He is projecting in the first round like everyone else, so he would have to be trading down, or the Raiders would have to trade up into the first round later. So his stats are 81 receptions, which are a lot for college football, 1,011 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns, and he's averaging 12.5 yards per catch. That 12.5 yards per catch is very good, and that shows that he's good at getting first downs, and it can really help Geno Smith out. And I really do like Emeka Ibuka, and I think he's one of the best wide receivers in this draft class. Next up, we have another guy who's by the way, Emeka Ibuka is a B tier. He went to Ohio State. And after that, we got Trey Harris. Trey Harris is from Ole Miss, and honestly, probably one of the biggest sleepers in this draft class. I like Trey Harris a lot, and he's not being talked about enough. He's a great receiver for Ole Miss, and I'd be thrilled if the Raiders drafted him. He's 6'2", and that's really going to help, him being an X wide receiver. His stats are 60 receptions, 1,030 yards, 7 touchdowns, 17.2 averages per reception. So Trey Harris, like I said, he's just not being talked about enough. He can truly turn into an X wide receiver, and he can turn into that guy. Third down, throw it up to him, he'll catch it. This guy's projecting in the second to third rounds. So if the Raiders don't take a guy in round 1, I really do expect them to look at Trey Harris in the second round to take him. And I would be happy if they did. I'd be completely fine with it. He's not being talked about enough, and I really do think he can turn into a wide receiver. He's also going to go into A tier. Emeka Ibuka is also A tier, by the way. So next up, yeah, sorry, I know I said B tier. Emeka Ibuka is A tier. Next up, all of these guys, just to make it clear, he's going to be B tier. So these guys are B tier. These guys are B tier. Xavier Restrepo is our next guy. Restrepo is a player that the Raiders can target in the third round, more of a later round guy. But here's the only thing. He doesn't really fit into this Raiders offense. Bowers is a wide receiver, and like he was last season. I really hope that they do not move Bowers around, because that would just be dumb. He had a record-breaking season last year, and if they do move him out of the slot, this is the guy the Raiders could look to target. Restrepo's a guy who's a slot receiver. He's kind of like Julian Edelman with the Patriots, and if he does play slot wide receiver for the Raiders, he can turn into a great player. But like I said before, we already have Brock Bowers, and I'll be very disappointed if they move Brock Bowers out of the slot. But if they did move him out of the slot, the top guy I would target is Restrepo. So next up, also B tier, is Jalen Royal. Actually, no, let me read you his stats for Xavier Restrepo. So his stats are 69 receptions, 1,127 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 16.3 yards per catch. That is actually a very good stat line. He was one of the league leaders in receiving yards for college football. I'm pretty sure he's more yards than most of these guys on the list that I've already listed. But like I said before, he had the best quarterback in college football throwing to him, and he's a slot guy that the Raiders don't really need a slot. Next up, Jalen Royals. So Jalen Royals is the guy the Raiders can look to target in the later rounds, probably third round. I doubt that they would look at him in the second, but he's a receiver that's a field stretcher. Another guy that's a field stretcher, like I said before, is Trey Tucker. If the Raiders have no confidence in Trey Tucker at all, let's say Tom Brady says, you know what, I don't trust Trey Tucker. I don't want him to be our number one guy for deep balls. Geno Smith, he likes to throw the ball deep a lot. So they're going to need a deep ball wide receiver like DK Metcalf on the Seahawks. Trey Tucker, what if he's not like that? Trey Tucker didn't have a great 2024 season, and taking a guy like Jalen Royal can help them out a lot. So his stats are 55 receptions, 834 yards, 15.2 yards per catch. So that's a nice stat line. He only had 852 yards, but his stats the year before were much better. He had 1,080 yards. He averaged the same 15 yards per catch, but he did have a lot more receptions. 2 years ago, he had 15 touchdowns. This year, he only had 6. So he really did take a step down, But that's all right because if the Raiders truly do need a deep ball wide receiver, I would be happy if they took Jalen Williams. All right, so next up, he's oh by the way he's also B tier. Everyone I'm saying is B tier now. So next up we have a guy Alec Manor. So he's from Stanford, and he's a guy that a lot of people have him much higher on their draft boards than me. I have to admit. I don't think that he's going to fit into this Raiders offense as much as a lot of people. But because he did have a really good stat line, he was the true, number one receiver for Stanford. And they looked to him almost every down. He had 63 catches, 831 yards, and Io Manor is a player that really can turn into a great wide receiver if the Raiders do develop him correctly. As of right now, I wouldn't trust him and say, okay, you're our X wide receiver, go be our wide receiver one. I would say sit back a year, let Jacoby Myers teach you how to play a little bit, adjust to the NFL a little bit, and then you can give him the keys to the car almost, and you can make him your true number one wide receiver. This guy's gonna be B tier. So all these guys I've listed, I want to say who the best guy is, who fits in this Raiders offense. The guy that I think fits with the Raiders the most is Tedero McMillan. McMillan had the best college football receiving season, in my opinion, and he fits in this Raiders offense too much to pass up on him. He's a deep ball wide receiver, but he can also, have a nice amount of speed, break a couple tackles, and he's just really a big guy. He's 6'5", like I said before, and that can really help the Raiders out and Geno Smith. He's going to be the biggest receiver on this Raiders team. And if the Raiders need someone on third down, throw it up to him. He'll catch it. He reminds me of a guy like Nico Collins. I've heard people say Mike Evans. I've heard Julio Jones. But to me, he's like a Nico Collins. If you want to look talent-wise, not how he looks into this Raiders offense, just on, they're all no height, just in general, I think Matthew Golden is the best talent-wise, but I do think Tedero McMillan does have a little bit of an edge on him because he's 6'5". So that's going to be it for our tier list. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you